This is the big return of the Comix Zone. Don't I've been thinking about coming back to this for quite some time. I've got some great local, independently produced zines and comics from a local show here called the Zine Party, which happened 2 weekends ago. So we're going to be going through some of these. I want to do things just a tiny bit different than I had before. I was doing a pretty quick look at a lot of these things. I want to delve a little further into some of them. We're still going to do sort of a cursory look over some and a deeper read through and look at some of these, but I want to give more time to each of the things that I show you here and try and delve into them even a little bit further. But we're going to start today the way we sometimes do, and that's with some flagrant self-promotion. That's how we're starting it today. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a quick look at the zine I created for this show in time for this show. It was my new zine that I went in with. So let's take a look at that. I'm all out of paper copies. I traded them all away and sold them all. So we're going to go through the digital reading copy that I have and take a read through it. I wanted to, as I was saying, take a closer read through these things. So I want to actually read you the story that I have written for this zine that tells the history and the rise and fall of these coal towns in what they now call the Valley of the Dinosaurs, but was once a coal-rich and major economic driver for the province of Alberta. So let's take a look at the ghost towns of the Drumheller Valley, and I'll try and do it in my best prospector voice. So we'll skip the captions. I'll come back to them as we take a little bit of a closer look at the artwork. But first I want to read you the story of this one. So before it was known as the Valley of the Dinosaurs, the Drumheller region was the Valley of Coal. Hearing tales of the, oh my God, that zoomed way in. Hearing tales of the land of black rocks from the indigenous Blackfoot peoples, early prospectors discovered coal in the banks of the Old Man River near Fort Whoopa. The town of Coal Banks, which is now Lethbridge, was established to support local mines, and the Alberta coal industry was born. In 1911, the first commercial coal mine opened in the Drumheller Valley, where it was discovered that great coal seams could be found underground in the layered striations of the Badland Buttes. In the early days of the coal boom, workers were housed in rough work camps. Alcohol and fistfights were the recreation of the day. In 1914, a rail expansion from Calgary to Drumheller allowed new routes for coal to reach market and the establishment of coal towns throughout the valley. Now, larger coal town sites would be developed, and workers and their families flooded into the valley. These early settlements transformed from camps of booze and blood, referred to by names such as Hell's Hole, into thriving communities. Coal mining in the early 20th century was especially dangerous, dirty work with high injury and casualty rates. The largest causes of death and injury were rockfall, machinery mishaps, and explosions. The blood tax, as it was referred to, was the cost of 3.5 lives for every ton of coal produced in the valley. Coal mines were owned by private enterprise and rail companies who put profits ahead of people. Inequalities and poor working conditions caused the rifts between mine owners and mine workers to turn the workforce towards labor organization, unionization, and strike action. 1919 was a year of intense strike action in the valley, led mainly by the OBU, or One Big Union. Strike-breaking efforts were brutal. J.M. Moody, owner of the Rosedale mine, brought in World War I veterans as a strike-breaking force. Strike leaders and striking workers were branded as enemy aliens tapping into the xenophobia that was rampant after the First World War. In all, 13 mining companies employed these veterans as special constables. Strikebreakers were paid $10 per day and all the alcohol they could drink during Prohibition, and issued crowbars and brass knuckles to keep the mines working, a task they achieved through intimidation, kidnapping, beatings, and running agitators out of the valley, all while the Alberta government, Alberta Provincial Police, and the Northwest Mounted Police turned a blind eye. In the years after the strike action, the coal production continued to flourish in the valley. Coal was the leading fuel used for industry, rail operations, energy production, and home heating. However, the Leduc oil discovery in 1947 ushered in a post-World War II boom in Alberta's oil and gas. This booming industry quickly began to displace coal as the leading and economical source of energy, fuel, and heating in the decades to follow. Many mines in the Valley of Coal had no path forward but to shut down operations and displace their workforce. Workers and businesses fled for opportunities elsewhere, and the once thriving communities began to empty out. Between the 1950s and the 1970s, operational mines in the valley dwindled, and in 1979, the Atlas Coal Mine, the last of 139 mines that once dotted and defined this valley, shut down. So let's take a quick look at some of the artwork I've done for this one. Here's the map that I created. So my great goal for this series of zines that I'm creating is to get people out and discovering for themselves these gems of history. So I always include a detailed map to hopefully get them out there and taking a look. I've included on here 7 different main ghost towns that I focused on, and then 3 bonus areas. So we have a mine hike, which is really great. It was a hike on the land that the Midland mine used to sit on. There are some existing foundations of buildings, some equipment, and some areas that they had the mine on previously. Rosedale has a really nice and interesting memorial. The Star Mine Suspension Bridge I did some artwork for, and while it is currently closed to pedestrian usage, it's still something you can take a look at, and it used to be a aerial tramway for ore to be brought across from the mine, and then was turned into a suspension bridge for the workforce to get to work every day across the river. The town of Wayne is very well known in this part of the world. It's got it's in what they call this area that has the 11 bridges. There are these 11 steel bridges that would lead to Wayne and several mines all along the way. You take the first 9 bridges to get out to Wayne. Nowadays, there's a really great little small town bar called Last Chance Saloon that's been standing there for about 100 years now, and the Rose Deer Hotel, which they're both quite storied locations in this valley. If you the stories are there, if you go into the Rose Deer Hotel, above the main front lobby desk, you'll see bullet holes from an altercation that took place in there, and somebody went in and shot up the place. East Cooley has a really amazing museum that is in the old schoolhouse that talks about the area and the some really great history on the coal mines of the area and the people who work them. It's a great way to feel that history kind of really soaking through, really bleeding through. The Atlas Coal Mine, which was the final mine to close, was very well preserved, and it now is a National Historic Site. So that means that the federal government has a stake in keeping it around and keeping the history there and making it something that people can visit and learn about the history of the place. So that's great that it still exists. And Dorothy is this really great, more of a agricultural town in my eyes. It's got a nice existing grain elevator, which has seen better days and is probably getting close to collapsing. So it also has two churches that have been kept up by the community, and it's got some nice abandoned and historical buildings there, including a general store that burned down in the 50s or 60s and was rebuilt, and then subsequently abandoned later on in time as these towns started to empty out of people. And the bonus ones I did was this great small, would have become a complete ghost town, but they turned themselves into an arts and theater hub. They have a school for the arts, a theater where they run live theater, dinner theater, and other events. They have an opera house. They have, I believe, around 9 bed and breakfasts in this small town. Nice restaurant and pie shop, museum, several great little shops of local artisan products. And there's a former wheat pull elevator there as well. Bainan is a cool place that you can visit. That's C on the map, or B on the map here, pardon me. And as you go through, you can find a pretty interesting amount of buildings there as well. It's been turned into an ecological preserve. And Sharples is a town that has one of the few remaining grain elevators branded with the P&H imprint. But there aren't many of those still existing. Okay. Self-promotion is done. Let's get into some of these. Now, I've got a couple of stacks of these. We're probably going to try and go through a single stack of these tonight. And then next week, come back and do another stack of them. Now, what I like to do as I go through these here is give you a link to the Instagram for the creator of each one that we go through, so that if you like what you see and you want to support this person and see what they're up to, you can follow them. Now, the issue on this one here is I've got one set of zines here. I believe all 5 of these come from the same creator, and I unfortunately do not have any information for them on these. And I have since, in the 2 weeks since this zine party, it has escaped my mind. I'm going to show these briefly today. If anyone from the Calgary arts area recognizes these ones and can remind me, I can picture the person handing me the zines, but I blank on the face or who it was. So I'll show these briefly today, and we will hopefully somebody can reach out to me from the Calgary art scene here and let me know who did these, because I really like them and it escapes me. Okay. First, we'll talk a little bit about Zine Party. Zine Party is this really great event that's put on by Shelf Life Books and the Community Wise Resource Center, which is a sort of local support organization here in Calgary that does some great work and great resources for people. So they put this on every year. They've now been putting it on twice a year, so once in the spring and once in the late fall. And so yeah, if you are from the area and you like what they've been doing, Shelf Life Books is a great independent bookseller, and Community Wise is doing really important work as well. Okay, so we'll start with these ones here. Like I said, unfortunately, I've been racking my brain for quite some time to try and figure out who this was. And maybe it'll come to me. If it does, we'll reapproach these next week or in a subsequent week, and give credit where credit is due for these great little zines. So there's a set of four here that what the creator did, I can remember the conversations I had with the creator of these. They took uh, they did a pictographic introduction. So what they envisioned was this is almost a how-to guide if visitors came from outer space, sort of thing. They're these great little mini zines, and they use Wikipedia's. Anytime there's an image for a certain topic. So the first one is a guide, an introduction to kisses, in which it has a caption for each one as it goes through it. Let's see if we can get this thing to focus on it. Sometimes it's a exercise in frustration, I'll tell you. So here we are, two Inuit peoples doing nose kissing, and it's really lo-fi. So it's an interesting take on this. Here's a a chart that shows the number of kisses in France. Men kissing passionately. So you can see it's done almost abstractly, in an almost abstract manner, the way this is captured for it. A heterosexual couple French kissing. Two gay men kissing during gay parade. And a tourist kissing the Blarney Stone. And it closes with affectionate kisses. So each of these takes a topic. This one is children. Takes a topic and does a deep look at these images that you could find on Wikipedia, as if you were trying to explain to someone, to visitors from somewhere else, how our world operates. Parental bonds often help children form their identity. I like on this one how the abstraction of the printing of it almost, it almost changes the what the image looks like. Almost look like they're behind bars on that one. Here is, boy, that my my autofocus is not doing us any favors today. A father playing with his daughter, an activity that tends to strengthen the father-child bond. Here's a child bonding with a cat. Human to animal contact is known to reduce the physiological characteristics of what? I don't know. I assume stress. Two fathers with their child. A grandmother and grandchild in Sri Lanka. So each of these has just this very interesting take on it, and it's an interesting exercise the way they did it by taking what Wikipedia has, which works like our modern encyclopedia, to see what that sort of de facto standard reference material chooses to include. Two young men about to have relations in China. A bromance in Morocco. A woman with her boyfriend. Two older gay men in March 2010. That's about the clearest photograph we've seen. A man handcuffed to a bed and blindfolded. Where does that come from? I would love to find out from the creator. Now, obviously, they had to find some of these photos probably on some interesting Wikipedia pages. Here's a pictographic introduction to hugs. A joyful hug between two friends at a wedding. A hug after a basketball game in the United States. A hug in France. A hug after a concert. A group hug and holding hands is an example of an effective intimacy between humans. I just, yeah, the idea of this providing an introduction to things for people not from here is great. Another one here is called Puddles, and it collects, once again, lo-fi images of what they called puddles 1 through 7. So there are these lo-fi images depicting a puddle and its sort of transformation over time. It almost reminds me of some of the comic output from Ray Fox, which follow certain people through many generations of time. I don't need my headphones anymore. I can do without that. Because it almost, I'll go through Ray Fox's stuff at some point, but a couple of his One Line and One Soul are these um, comics that follow single people or groups of people through time, and it corresponds. So when you look at puddle 1 to puddle 2, it's sort of the evolution of this puddle as it goes, and you can see some subtle changes. But overall, it's quite similar. So as you keep going through here, you can see how it's kind of following. It's almost like the life of this puddle. Yeah, so that's Puddles. So if anyone does recognize the creator of this, I'm going to keep looking on my own as well to see if I can remember who this creator was. And if I do come up with it, I will show their stuff again and give them proper credit and where you can find and follow them and give them support. So we're going to go through that sort of one stack of things that I had. Let's pull these out first. Now this creator you can find at Sweater Doodles. This is Kaylin, pardon me, see if I remember the full name. Kaylee, pardon me. And I was really happy to be able to trade zines with Kaylee here, because I was very interested in the subject matter of these 4 zines I was able to trade for. I'm very something I take very seriously in this province and this city is the support for our LGBTQ plus friends. So this has some great informational stuff as well as sort of life story things. So I always appreciate guides like this that talk about things like how to be more inclusive, how to better understand pronouns, how to better catch yourself on you never want to misgender people, but if you do, what happens? Things like that. I like these sorts of guides. I think they're great because it provides more language to even, towards myself, and then also what I can use to help those around me just to understand things more. So we'll start with Kaylee's Guide to Pronouns and Trans Inclusive Language. So you'll stop making the trans people in your life so uncomfortable. This is a great one. I really like this one. So hi, my name is Kaylee and their pronouns are they, them. Sometimes it can be hard for people to get it when I tell them my pronouns. And I'm not very good at conflict, so I also struggle to tell people in the moment when they make mistakes. But I want people to know, and I'm much better at explaining myself in Doodle. So here we are. I use a lot of different terms for my identity: queer, transgender, bisexual, non-binary, and transmasc. Some of these refer to gender and some refer to sexuality. That's a lot. So let's focus on gender. Sometimes people use vocabulary as an excuse for not respecting people's identity. They even sometimes blame us for the lack of accessible language. But did you know that there are actually many reasons there are so many terms? It's not just that we love the air of mystery. And here's someone with their unknowable cool. Some of the reasons there are so many terms. There have always been people who live outside of the gender binary or who don't feel connected to their sex assigned at birth. These people exist around the world and until recently didn't have any way to communicate their complex and sometimes socially unacceptable experiences with others. I'm going to get really close on this one. See if we can. There's a Hijira in India, Two-Spirit of Turtle Island, the Afafine in Samoa. Hi Doss, how are you? Yeah, we're going through some zines today. This one is a very interesting guide to pronouns and trans-inclusive language, which I find really great. So there are not a lot of trans people and we're spread across culture and time. Older generations may use terms like transsexual, while younger people are more likely to use fluid, individualized terminology. Trans people are often asked to explain themselves and their gender. These descriptions vary because no two people have the exact same description or experience of gender. So this is a really interesting thing that Kaylee's put together, is what they call the trans umbrella. It's sort of an umbrella of different terms, and how it differs from sort of that cis way of looking at things for cisgender. Come on. It'd be great if this thing would focus just a little better. I'll have to work on that. So the trans umbrella, if we can get a nice focus here, will it do it? It might not do it. We might read down here. So instead of blaming trans people, here are some definitions to start you off. So an umbrella term for anyone whose gender does not match their sex assigned at birth is transgender. The gender that society decides you are based on your external genitalia or when you're born is the sex assigned at birth. Ooh, yeah, good idea. Keep a pen nearby. Let's see if that works. If I keep a pen just underneath here. Problem is I have a okay, come on. You can do it. You can do it. That's a really good tip, Doss, but I don't know if it wants to do. Sometimes I'll just place my hand and see if there we go. Keep my hand in view, and then sometimes that works. It's good at focusing on hands. Problem is I have a bit of a skin condition, so I don't like to have my hands on there if I can help it, because I have a bit of a dry skin condition from a reaction to a shot a couple years ago. So let's make our way through this. So under the umbrella, there's transsexual, non-binary, trans man, gender fluid, gender diverse, gender queer, trans woman, agender, gender non-conforming, or more. All these terms fall under the trans umbrella. The cisgender umbrella is cis or cissexual. So umbrella terms are imperfect, as it says here. Umbrella terms are imperfect and can never fully explain the range of individual experiences of every person under them. The trans umbrella does help describe similar needs and experiences that trans people share compared to cisgender people. While terminology keeps changing, the best way to make sure you're doing it right is to ask the person what terms and pronouns they use and then practice. and don't assume based on what they look like. I find this is the stuff for me is the most affecting. When you see this stuff about, um, I've had, I've gotten several zines that are similar to this in that they are looking to educate people on how to have more inclusive language. And my favorite parts of them, I think the most effective parts, where they talk about here's what you do when you mess up, because it's very easy to mess up on this stuff. While I'm personally okay when people make mistakes for the first little while, not all trans people feel this way. And I cannot stress this enough. It feels really shitty when people don't even try to get my pronouns right. Boy, I would love this to focus better. My apologies to the to Kaylee on this one. I will keep working on trying to get the it's going a bit better. When people say I just have to be patient with them, I need them to know that what they're telling me is that I need to be okay with. Because it's not really a request, is it? How would you react if I said no? They're telling me to be okay with putting part of my humanity on hold, with erasing a big part of who I am, and with hurting me. It feels bad. And when it happens multiple times a day, every day, it's exhausting. So, instead of asking trans people to be patient with you or blaming us or being lazy, go home and practice. Here's some great. I won't read through all of these little situations because they're each a little individual situation. Let's try the pen trick again. Maybe I have the wrong kind of pen. Hand trick. The hand trick sometimes works. I think sometimes I just need it to take up the entire screen. So this is a great little zine. I like these informational ones. I think they provide great information, and it makes it easier that when I'm talking to people about trying to be more inclusive, I then I can feel better informed as well. Let's go to this one. This one's very similar. It talks a little bit. This is touched on a little bit in this one as well. It's gender neutral alternatives to saying yes, queen, or yes, king. And these are great. They're really beautifully illustrated. Pop off, my liege. Snap, your excellency. Nailed it, your radiance. Go off, your eminence. Send it, your highness. Work, the press. Slay, esteemed sovereign. You tell him, my thane. Get it, your majesty. Fuck him up, your grace. I think that's fun. That's a fun little one, and I love the illustration work on the typography is very nice. Hi, Saxon. Let's talk about this one first. So here's a really good sort of slice of life one that Kaylee created that is sort of chronicling, their experience of being 8 months on testosterone treatments. A zine about HRT, transness, and oversharing. I think I love about a lot of these, they're that classic 8-page zine style that I love. I think it's a great storytelling medium. So testosterone, or T, see if we can get there we go. Now we're getting Now we're getting that. So let me get my head out of the way here. See if we can get it to focus. Testosterone or T? Come on. Do me a favor here. I'm gonna have to maybe look at a way to manually focus this thing, because it's, some days it does a really good job. It depends. It doesn't like handwriting as much as it likes something that's more pure typographical. Come on, come on now. Do me a favor. Don't you like that? Look at a hand. Oh, there we go. Sometimes it looks at a hand and it gets it. So testosterone, or T, is a form of hormone replacement therapy for people who were assigned female at birth. People take T for lots of reasons. Some people who take T are transgender, but some are non-binary or gender fluid or any number of other labels. Some people take T for a short time, and others may want one specific change, like a voice swap, and then they stop. You can choose your own gender adventure. So when Kaylee started taking testosterone, they tried a very low dose for the first 6 months. I wanted to try it out, but I was also nervous and excited and curious. But I'm also scared of needles, so I had to be very brave. At first, I played elaborate mind games to do my shot. I'd bribe myself, time myself, and trick myself by ambushing myself. Kaylee is yelling at themselves. Who put this here? I guess I have to do my shot right now. But over time, it became a lot easier. Now I almost look forward to shot day, and it's only every 2 weeks. Not so bad. The first 6 months, I didn't notice a lot of changes. I was way more stinky. It became way easier to gain muscle, but also bottom growth and changes to libido and some period spotting, but it's gone now. So bottom growth is the growth of the clitoris for AFAB people on testosterone. Bottom growth ranges from person to person and usually continues for 1 to 3 years. See, once again, I've learned stuff I had no idea about. With a bigger dose, I'm noticing a lot more changes over the last few months. Facial hair, especially on my neck. Also acne. Voice cracks. Like all the time. Fat redistribution. And focus. There. Fat redistribution, a jawline, bigger and broader shoulders and arms, no more waist. I feel like a teenage boy, but in a good way. So this one's very fine. So I'll read this out. Frequently asked questions, because I'm fascinated by this experience and sharing this. It takes a lot of guts. When it talks about oversharing, I don't agree. I think this is an important story to tell, an important look into someone's personal journey that you normally would not get close to. So I think it's, I would say it's not oversharing. It's appropriate, and it's good to know. So frequently asked questions. What do you wish you knew before starting? They wish they knew that needles come in different gauges, and pharmacies don't always know what you need, even if you tell them you've never done an injection before. So Kaylee changed pharmacies because the old one repeatedly gave them the wrong needles. So trans healthcare training is important. There was also a T shortage, and my dose wasn't available for months. Thankfully, their pharmacist was aware to change them to another brand when they ran out. An FYI, to do subcutaneous injections with a certain gauge of needles. How does T impact fertility? Many people take a break from tea in order to have children. When you're taking tea, your period eventually stops, so you need to take a break in order to get pregnant. There haven't been a lot of studies on this, but new research is pointing to limited long-term impacts. That said, nothing is guaranteed, so many people have kids first or freeze their eggs. Fun fact, transgender men who get pregnant call themselves seahorse backs because male seahorses carry the babies and give birth. Cool. What happens if you stop? Some changes are permanent and others will slowly reverse. Your skin gets softer again, you'll sweat less and lose muscle mass eventually. Body hair like leg hair may thin out, but facial hair will most likely stay. Bottom growth may shrink, but not to pre-T levels. Any voice changes are permanent. Does tea impact your mood? It can. Many people report increased confidence and happiness with decreased dysphoria. Some also report increased irritability and anger. I'm already on medication for anxiety and depression, so I didn't notice anything. That's an amazing story of Kaylee's process through 8 months of testosterone. Once again, that's not a story that I would be able to hear too often. So I think it's amazing that you know, in a zine that can be easily traded, shared, that this story can be out there. So I applaud them, and I think it's one of the best ones I traded for. This one I really got a kick out of when I saw it. So it says on it, come on. Come on. Look at my hand. Look at my hand. There we go. The number best-selling fantasy life. What to expect when society expects you to be expecting, but you don't want kids. As a childless person, I thought this one was pretty good. There's a clear path you're supposed to take through adulthood. University, fall in love, get married, buy a house, have babies, and then find your life's purpose somehow. And you don't realize how prevalent that path is until it no longer applies to you. When you start saying you don't want kids or any of the other milestones on the path, you get a range of responses. You'll change your mind. Isn't that a bit selfish? I've heard that one. But you love kids and you're so good with them. Heard that one. Who will look after you when you're old? And who will choose your nursing home? I've heard that one quite often. Population decline, capitalism, blah, blah, blah. You'll never know love until you look into your baby's eyes. I've heard that one. You just wait. Oh my God, are you pregnant? The thing is, as loud as those voices are, there are also a lot of reasons not to follow that path. And having kids isn't something anyone should half-ass. Got a lot of things here. Double income, no kids, sleeping in, money, art, books, body autonomy, travel, relationships, cozy games, late nights, your career, a somewhat clean house, your hobbies, pregnancy loss or infertility, gardening, helping the earth, doggo walks. Also, there are many beautiful ways to build a family. I think that's great. Friends, family, nieces, doggos, nieces, nephews, angsty teens, games, sports. Yeah. I think it's a great one. It talks to a lot of people in a lot of different places. That's Kaylee's zines that I traded for. They're at Sweater Doodles on Instagram. This is going to be a quick hit, this one here. This is a really cool one. I met this person, it's Lily from Cato Paper Company. I'll leave it folded for now, and we'll put their Instagram up here. So you can find Lily at Cato Paper Co. This one, both Gord and I, my comic collaborator, when we walked into the zine party, we immediately looked at these because Lily had them all in this nice folded pie shape, and then next to each other into a full pie, and was able to fold them all. So this is the full one. Shows a bunch of different Chinese dishes. And the way they had them folded up is each of them was to a different version of the pie, which you can do as well as you fold it. You can display a different one depending how your mood is that day. And they had them so it was all in the full composition. It was really striking and grabbed our attention immediately. Kind of shows you almost I don't know if it's a hot pot or if it's a cooking vessel here, like a clay pot. These things are in. You got your really amazing, really cool stuff. Really beautifully printed and cut out and assembled. Very cool. So I was very happy to get my hands on this. So here's actually a sort of a twofer. We've got Abby and Kaylin. We'll focus. So they were co-tabling at the zine party. Let's focus first on Abby's output here. I will grab their information. So Abby, what I traded for on this one, just a beautiful business card, by the way. Let's just take a moment to really appreciate. I like to take a moment to appreciate beautifully printed and produced print items. This stag beetle, isn't that beautiful? Yeah, that's great. So there's Abiosis. They're an illustrator and a muralist, which is great. I've met some really great muralists as I've been getting more into the art scene here in Calgary. So people who do great illustrations, but they'll also do these beautiful large-scale works. So I traded for these really great, really excellent stickers. Got the party animal, got our nice little raccoon, our little trash panda. This one spoke to me quite a bit, the night owl. Just beautiful. Just beautiful. Night owl. And once again, we got this beautiful stag beetle. Just saying, be nice to me. As it chills out on a nice flowery stem. Those are great. Abby's work is really, really nice. And their friend that they were sort of co-tabling with is Kaylin Novicki. As someone with a name that's hard to pronounce, it doesn't get any easier when someone else has a tough one to pronounce. You can find them at Kaylin Novicki. Once again, beautifully done business card with this sassy black cat. Let's clear this out of the way. This beautiful black cat. A nice background. Really nice. Tell you, this camera's not doing me any favors today. So what I love about this, the one I traded for, I think I robbed Kaylin a little bit. So I traded my Ghost Town zines for this beautifully produced book. It's got very, very thick. It's all hand. It's it's like a hardcover book. It's like a board book, basically. And it's been hand created in that way. And then look at that stitching. Look at that stitching. Amazing. I was really, really quite smitten with how this was put together. And on the inside, it's actual Polaroid photographs. So the way Kaylin explained it to me is that they had a shoebox basically full of Polaroid pictures that didn't turn out for one reason or another, whether they had like a a fault in the exposure, or it ended up being sort of abstract, or was just something that they couldn't use in anything else, like this Manitoba Theater Center. So they were able to take them, and the beautiful thing is you get one like this that basically the photo exposure sheet here basically delaminated from itself and spoiled. There's still a compositional um, value to this. So I was so happy to get this. And that stitching, once again, the amount of effort to punch through these pages, and punching through these Polaroids and putting a backing onto each one of them with an illustration, and I can actually feel that this was painted on. This is not printed then put on. This is the paper put on and then actually hand painted. So the amount of effort that went into this is extreme. It's very tactile, and I love it. I love it. One of my favorite of the show, actually, of the zine party. We're going to be pretty judicious on what we leave. I want to leave enough to have about the same amount of time next week as well. So we're going to do just 2 or 3 more, and then take a break, and then next week I'll come back with another set of these to finish off this zine party event and the ones I traded for with that. I may do a drawing stream later tonight after we break from this. But in terms of the Comix Zone for tonight, we're going to do the zine party that took place in Calgary on November 18th, 2023 in 2 shots, just so you know. So this is from, these 3 here are from Soup Davis. I was very happy to meet Soup. You can follow Soup at All Soup, No Spoons. Soup is very cool. This first one that we're going to delve through is called Rebirth, a short memoir of time lost by Soup Davis. I really love that Soup has this stamp that they place on the back of their zines. You'll see it on both of them. It's awesome. I love the sort of kind of rough nature of it. It's great. It's pretty cool. It says, I grew up. Let's see if I can get this to. I was hoping this one would focus really well because we got a nice. Let's see if it sees a nice illustration, it will often pick it up. And this is a great illustration. There we go. The hand helps. I grew up loving the fields in the trailer park my grandparents lived in. Some of my happiest memories were exploring these fields and coming back to my grandma for tea after walking the dogs. Look at that wonderful half tone. Awesome. It was somewhere magical, not existing in my day-to-day, where wheatgrass kissed your calves and fairies flew always out of sight. Every walk felt like a brand new location, and I felt that in this place magic was real. I don't remember the last time I was in those fields. My grandmother died suddenly. My grandfather followed her a few years later. Grief makes time feel like forever and nothing all at once. Months after my grandfather's death, the high-end condo development nearby finally breached the fields of my youth. They took away everything, reducing precious places to nothing but dirt. It felt like the only thing I had left of my grandparents was now destroyed by someone who wouldn't even know the magic they had taken. It's been a few years since then. Recently, while walking to a Walmart of all places, I walked through an undeveloped field that my dad used to call an eyesore. There, in the weeds and wheatgrass and tall, overgrown bushes, I realized the field I loved as a child existed everywhere. In every overgrown lawn, memories of my childhood. In every weed growing through concrete, my grandfather's stubborn nature. And every pretty daisy on the side of a highway, my grandmother's laugh. Although that field is gone, these places will always exist. Nature persists, and so does love. Yeah, awesome. Great bit of writing. Really excellent piece of writing. Soup nailed it with Rebirth. Really beautiful. This one here is called Masks. There's really, really fine text on this one. So I'm going to have to stick my head way in here. The one on the left says, let's get it to focus first. You know what a hand looks like. Come on now. Just gonna do it. Look at that. So we're gonna get real close on this one. I'm sorry. Oh boy. I'm sorry. I promise I'll show emotion for you. The one on the right. Oh boy. I'm gonna have to start doing this like an old guy. I can't read it. I can't read it. I'm too old. It says something about their eyes. I can't read it. It's too fine. I love the artwork though. Soup did very well. Let's see, we'll get the back of my hand, and then we'll quickly. Oh, look at the texture on that mask. Look at that texture. Amazing. I'm sorry. I promise I'll play pretend. This one's really cool as well. I'm sorry. I'll put the blinders on so I can pretend I'm okay. So the text here is like sub 4 point. If you understand the size of that, Sexton, I know you probably that'll speak to you what exactly how small this text is. I'm sorry. I promise I'll make eye contact for you. I'm sorry. I promise I'll be seen and not heard for you. Yeah. I love the artwork on this one. And to come up with these masks that personify these feelings, like the way the compromises we make for people and the concessions we make for people. Pretty amazing. Yeah, I suppose I do have a loop. I find it really hard. I'd have to like, oh yeah, it actually does help quite a bit. I promise I'll make eye contact for you. Okay, it works. I haven't used the loop in quite some time. But I thought about getting a magnifying glass out for that one. I knew that when I was re-looking through this stuff earlier, I knew that one was going to be a challenge. I tried to remember all of them, but yeah, they are. It's great though. I love it. I'd love to see. I think this one really deserves a large treatment. I'd love to see Soup take this and do a book, like expand it even further, do a larger format. I think it's really great. Here's the last of Soups that I have, called In the Blood. Really good writing in here. Now I'll do a little bit of jumping around here because there are some definitions in the back that I'll read all out sort of ahead of time as we go. The first starts with a quotation. What I've always thought isn't that monsters don't have reflections in a mirror. It's that if you want to make a human being into a monster, deny them at the cultural level any reflection of themselves. That's Junot Diaz. So we're going to jump right now to these definitions. This glossary at the back. Look at the beautiful texture of that. Like I said, this one's called In the Blood. So we're looking at basically gore. So the glossary reads, coded language, a word or phrase chosen in place of another word or phrase in order to communicate an attitude or meaning without stating it explicitly. Number 2, autism, a neurological developmental disability resulting in social and communication differences. For example, repetitive behaviors, ways of thinking, and routine. The third one, stimming, repetitive self-soothing behavior that can manifest in multiple ways. For example, hand flapping, rocking back and forth, word repetition and noise making, listening to specific music, touching specific textures. Number 4, masking. Now this is going to speak directly to what that last one we looked at. The act of covering up autistic traits through acting neurotypical, which can cause burnout, exhaustion, and dissociation. For example, forcibly making eye contact, as we saw in that one, overthinking conversations in order to predict social cues, practicing conversations before they happen or just in case they do. Special interest. Intensely passionate interest, different from hobbies in the sense that they are all-consuming. Autistic people may want to learn something they can, learn everything they can about a special interest, collect all the toys and items related to it, learn how to play every song on a favorite soundtrack. Special interests bring comfort, joy, and a sense of safety. And last, echolalia. The act of repeating words and phrases, not in a way that has any meaning, but to feel out how the word or phrase feeling in a stimulation way. Echolalia can last days or months with specific phrases or words, but sometimes will only manifest once to feel out the stim in the words. And that's a new one to me. I didn't know about echolalia, like the act of using a word for its stim qualities for people on the autistic spectrum. Like I said, that's what I love about zines. These are people I probably wouldn't meet in my day-to-day, but because we're vendors at this event, we meet each other, we get to share ideas, I get to share what I'm passionate about, they get to share what they're passionate about, and in a lot of cases like this, I learn something. I'm an old guy, and it's great when I'm able to learn things. So, in the summer of 2020, during the first lockdown, and this is Soup's one here, I realized, come on, look at my hand over this sort of beastly hand. In the summer of 2020, during the first lockdown, I realized I was autistic. This was also around the same time I watched my first slasher movie. Texas Chainsaw Massacre lighted a spark in me, igniting my first special interest. I could actually label as such. Soon after watching the movie, I started to recognize the similarities between my newfound disability and the iconic Leatherface. The connections between horror and autism are a vital part of my identity, and this zine is an exploration into these concepts. Oh, we've got a bonus Saxton. We've got a bonus Hazel appearance. Hi, Hazel. Okay, I'm gonna let you go this way. We're almost done. Great double spread here. Societal fears have always driven the genre of horror. The universal fears of death, the end of the world, war, and famine have influenced human mythology for as long as we have existed. In the 20th and 21st century, the rise of the fear of the other, of the normalcy in society being broken, was one of the main driving components in the rise of the slasher subgenre of horror. The other could refer to any marginalized group of people, but the focus on the coding of the disability and raw autism as something to fear. The freak in the woods, the cannibal in the south, the masked boogeyman. They all have different aspects of me. What traits are considered autistic? Communication differences. Autistic people can be nonverbal, semi-verbal, or hyperverbal. Repetition. In movement, routine, and often presented through both stimming and echolalia, autism is fueled by repetition and can make autistic people feel safe. Societal differences. Social cues found in most scenarios, such as being able to tell when someone isn't interested or has to leave, are things that aren't able to be easily read unless the autistic person is masking. Autistic people often tend to think in terms of black and white, and they can experience extreme empathy or low empathy. So, an example here, Michael Myers from Halloween in 1978 and 2018. He's nonverbal, has low empathy, has a poor understanding of societal cues, pretty much constant eye contact through stalking, standing on the street, stalking someone through windows as inappropriate social behavior. Bubba Sawyer or Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 1974. Nonverbal. Repetition of animal noises as a form of echolalia. Doesn't understand social cues, such as the dinner scene masking in the role of a mother. Stims. In the final scene, the chainsaw dancing can be considered physical stimming. I've never thought of it that way. That's interesting. Collecting, possibly related to a special interest as a butcher, the bones. And Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th franchise. Nonverbal. Camp Crystal Lake can act as Jason's territory. And the act of violent defense of this place, which is a cause of anger rumination, which is a autistic anger response, including repeating actions, which is violence, often coming into an autistic person space and touching their stuff or place of living can activate this. And they mention a lot of things that they've noted here, that these characteristics are also examples of coding a character in traits of a more stigmatized mental illness. And it can be tough, that definition, that distinction between the two. I love this dissection of the horrors of the slasher genre, subgenre of horror, in this sort of coded autistic language and traits. Because it's such an interesting take on it. The reality is, a lot of autistic people find real comfort in these characters, including me. The idea of getting revenge and being protected by someone big and scary who acts like me is nice. However, the coding of these characters has only resulted in further stigmatization of autism. If a child sees me, a semi-verbal person, have a shutdown in which I go nonverbal and blank-faced, how can they not relate me to their newfound fear of Michael Myers after watching Halloween and now, by further extension, me? How am I supposed to fight this? I can't. These movies have been out for decades, and the coding, if people realize it or not, affect what they see when people look at me. If prying eyes will never cease and there is no exit, then what do I say? And Soup concludes, I am not a monster. I am not your monster. I'm just me. Our differences are not something for me to be ashamed of, nor for you to fear. Really great. You know, it's a dissection of a genre of movie that I really quite enjoy in a brand new light, you know, brand new um, point of view that is really quite cool. Finally, today we're gonna look at something from Bobo T. Bobo T is actually here on Twitch as well. They haven't streamed in quite some time. I hope they will very soon. So you can follow Bo at bo.bo.t on Instagram. Great feed, really good stuff. I really enjoy their stuff and talking with them. This one's entitled You Never Told Me There Was a Monster. It's a dream diary. So created just this year. And look at these great illustrations. I really enjoy Bobo's stuff. Look at that. Riding the star. So cool. It says, thank you for picking up this comic zine. I can't wait for you to experience my near nonsensical recollections of this dream that I had 6 months before finishing this comic. I was in some sort of Legoland liminal space as a duck character from a retro low poly PlayStation game. Kind of like crow.exe on YouTube. Huge inspiration, by the way. Anyways, I'll let you go enjoy the comic now. Bye. Bo. The last page of this comic has a beautiful doodle by my supportive and lovely partner. Oh, which is Pine and Pigeon. So, is it the one on there? Oh, it's this one here. Their partner, also super great. I'm going to throw their information up on there as well. I totally spaced. Let me quickly get their Instagram stuff. So Sky, Pine and Pigeon, does amazing illustrations as well. I'm a huge fan of theirs. Ah, nice little jump in by VR. Hi VR. We're getting close to wrapping up this portion of the stream. We're looking at one more zine here. It's a Dream Diary comic by Bo, and now I'm going to do a drawing stream. Thank you so much for that, Raid. So the two people you want to follow for this one here is Bo at bo.bo.t. And then if you'd like to check out more of Sky's work, which is really amazing stuff as well, that's at Pine and Pigeon. This is a dream diary. It's really quite cool. So here's a dream that Bo had. Oh, you just were playing some Genshin. Good stuff. So let me read these out. So as Bo explains this, it was being in a strange Legoland liminal space as a duck character is what this dream happened. What? Where am I? Whoa, I'm a duck. What is this place? It looks like Lego World? Let's get this thing to focus. Focus on it. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. Why is there a coin over there? And as they move across the bridge, Ooh, gotcha. So shiny. Oh, what's happening? I can't control my body. You can see why Bo explains this as being a duck character from a PS1 game. They get this coin and it's 1 out of 10. Why am I posing? Oh, cramps. Oh, I get it. I'm supposed to collect 10 coins. And here they are collecting third of 10 and 7 of 10. Dreams like this can be so freeing, but they can also be hugely stress inducing because you have things expected of you in these games, right? So when you have that come out, 9 out of 10, superb. Oh, I've looked everywhere. What could the last one possibly be? Starts heading up the steps. Why is it getting so dark? Ah! Well, thankfully I didn't fall. I gotta get that coin and get out. What the? Hi there. Ah! The zombie comes up out of the cracked staircase. And then finally, what? Shiny. This seems like this seems like a terrible nightmare to me. Being chased by this accosted by this big slimy monster with faces in it. You look at the little faces existing inside this come on, focus. I've been having some trouble with my camera focusing tonight. Shiny. Oh, I think he's gonna give him the coin. He did. Look, it came out of the large beast. 10 out of 10, fantastic. But the entire thing cracked and snapped and crumbled. Oh my god, and he fell. And awakens to the sight of a horse snout. Ah! Oh, it's just a statue. Where are you? Relax. I'm part of the Dream Rescue Force. What? You're in the void. It's a space between dreams. You're here because look at this little chucklehead who comes out of nowhere. It's a space between dreams. You're here because you died in a dream about 1994's chart-topping game. You never told me there was a monster. We used this suitcase to exit the void. Here, take it. I can't imagine remembering so many of these details. Uh, thank you. Happy to help. Go ahead, use it. Let me get that for you. Bloop. Ah. Ah. What a wild, Gally. What a wild little dream diary comic. Um, I haven't seen a lot like this where they you take this fantastical dream and put out. I don't remember my dreams in this manner. I sometimes do, but to remember it with there's actually quite a bit of detail in this of how it goes. Like this shot of the creature first emerging. That's the kind of stuff I would shut out of my mind. Amazing. So like I said, follow Bobo Tea and Pine and Pigeon. They're both real sweethearts. I love their stuff. We're gonna look at one last thing before we go. It's this beautiful art print. I tell you, I traded my little dinky black and white zines for this beautiful piece of artwork. by Darren at Nonfiction Press. And I almost feel like I robbed him by getting this. It's so good. So look at the detail. Look at the detail on this. It's beautiful, beautiful detail. Oh, this is making my camera go crazy. Excellent. I don't know if you're seeing that. I'm getting some weird stuff on my camera. This seems to be confusing the heck out of it, but I love it. This like progression of this like starburst. Just amazing artwork. And all of Darren's stuff is as cool as this. He has some very different stuff, but definitely if you like, sorry, I've left Bobo's stuff on here. I mean, follow Bobo as well. Absolutely follow Bo. But this is Darren from Nonfiction Press. All of his stuff is really quite incredible. This one reminded me of an album cover for the band Converge, which I really love. Like, yeah. Of course, I'm telling Darren about these album covers by Converge. He's like, dude, I don't know what that is. He's like, Darren's like a 19-year-old kid. I don't know how old he is, but he's very young. He's much younger than me, probably half my age. But the work that Darren's already putting out is incredible. The amount of detail here is really something. Cool. So we'll, like I said, we'll come back. Let's do a quick little recap of what we went through tonight. That's what we'll do. Just a very quick recap of what we looked at tonight before I take a quick break, and then I'm going to come back with the drawing stream. You're going to find this particular stream I will archive on my YouTube channel as well, which you will be able to find a link somewhere down there. We had this one here, which is, unfortunately, I cannot remember who I got this from. I'm going to try and find out. There are these great pictographic zines. We went through Lily's amazing Chinese dishes publication that has this great where you can kind of refold it and switch it out to whatever you feel like that day. Awesome work on this one. We went through Kaylee's really amazing, really informational ones about pronouns, gender neutral alternatives to things, their experience going through 8 months of testosterone treatments, and this, I really love this one about what to expect when society expects you to be expecting. We went through these great stickers from Abby. This amazing old Polaroid disused images zine from Kaylin. We went through these 3 amazing ones from Soup Davis. The Writing and Rebirth is some of my favorite that I've read this year. Masks, and then this dissection of slasher horror movies from the lens of a person who is autistic, and seeing the parallels in the way the coded language is. This was an amazing one. And of course, I went through Bo's amazing Dream Diary comic. You told me you never told me there was a monster, and Darren's beautiful artwork. So really good. So I'll be back with this same comXone stuff next week at around this same time, if everything goes well. We're going to be going through more stuff from the zine party that took place. So I've got another handful of zines, as well as some pretty cool buttons. So we'll do that next week.